Welcome, deep divers. Okay, let's just dive right in. Think for a moment, just for a second, about how we handle the beginning of life. New babies coming.
Right.
And we spend months getting ready, don't we?
Yeah.
Physically, emotionally, pulling the finances together.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talk about it constantly with everyone. There's this huge excitement, celebration.
Exactly. Even though we know it's going to involve pain, big changes, maybe not much sleep,
Hmm.
we embrace it. It's this like open, shared thing. It's pretty universal, isn't it? This welcome for a new chapter.
But what's so, well, striking when you put it like that is the contrast.
Yeah.
It's huge. We lean right into preparing for birth. We acknowledge the tough parts.
Yeah.
Yet, for the other side of the coin, the other universal inevitability death we do, well, almost nothing, it seems.
So little.
Death has somehow become one of the biggest taboos. It's really quite something.
It is astonishing when you really stop and think about it. This deep societal silence
Yeah.
about something so basic to being human.
Yeah.
And that's our mission today, really, to unpack this whole thing.
Get into why it's like this.
Right. We've got some great sources to help us navigate this. There's a BBC News report, features end-of-life carers, health experts, and also a really sharp opinion piece from eHospice. It's called, Why Don't We Prepare for Death Like We Prepare for Birth?
Good question.
Exactly.
So our goal for you, listening in, isn't just to state the obvious, that there is a taboo. We want to dig into why it's there, understand the impact it actually has on people, on healthcare.
Yeah, the real-world effects.
And, crucially, figure out how we can start having better, more supportive conversations about dying. So by the end, you'll hopefully feel, well, more informed, maybe a bit more empowered about it all.
That really brings it down to a human level straight away, doesn't it? This isn't some abstract problem. And to make it really concrete, let's look at Eddie Vance's story. It's incredibly powerful. She cared for her friend, Erin Corner, at the end of her life. Erin died from ampullary cancer. She was only 31.
Just 31. And Erin's story is even more heartbreaking because she'd already faced terrible loss. Her youngest son, Zach, died in a fire a few years before.
Can you imagine the strength that must take to face that kind of sorrow again?
No, it's hard to fathom. But what really stands out in Abby's account is Erin's foresight, even facing her own death.
What did she do?
Before she died, she actually wrote birthday cards, even wedding cards, for her two sons who survived, planning for moments she wouldn't be there for.
Wow, that's incredible. Trying to leave something of herself behind for them.
Exactly, facing it head on in her own way.
But here's the kicker, right? The really crucial part. Abby realized that even with Erin wanting to prepare,
Yeah.
both of them were, well, shockingly ill-informed about the actual process of dying.
Yeah.
She told the BBC, and this quote really hit me, lots of the stuff that happened, we had no idea that was going to happen.
Really? Things like what?
Things like sedation or terminal agitation, that restlessness, the anxiety patients can get near the end.
Ah, right. Things you wouldn't necessarily know unless you're told.
Exactly. And Abby thinks, looking back, that Erin might have chosen differently about her care if she had known more.
And that just raises such a massive question, doesn't it? Why isn't this vital information shared more openly, or is it sometimes even, withheld?
Ami Vance puts it bluntly. She says, we have this really weird taboo around death.
Weird is one word for it.
Yeah. And it affects everyone involved.
Yeah.
She adds that when someone is dying, people don't know what to say. They draw back.
Which creates this bubble, right? Isolation, not just for the person dying, but for the carers, too, who are often left trying to figure things out alone.
It's truly heartbreaking. Feeling alone is something we all share eventually. And look, this is just Abby's personal feeling. Laura Hugman, she's a clinical team manager at a hospice at home service, T. Paul Sartori.
Okay.
She says the exact same thing professionally. She states it plainly. It's a challenge. I don't think we're very good at talking about dying at all.
No. And interestingly, it doesn't seem to be because patients don't want to talk. Dr. Mark Tauber, he's a consultant in palliative medicine.
Right.
He points out something that might surprise a lot of people. In his experience, a huge majority, like 95% of patients, actually want more detail. They want to know what's likely to happen towards the end.
95%. That's almost everyone.
It is. He really emphasizes that improving the language and getting the message across in a much clearer way is important. Why? Because feeling like you have some control over that conversation, well, he says it's very, very helpful.
Control, clarity, honesty. Those seem key. And speaking of language, Dr. Taubert also brings up the way we talk about it, the battle language.
Ah, yes, the fighting being strong narrative.
Exactly. He says while the intention is usually good, it can be really problematic when someone is nearing the end.
How so?
Well, think about it. If someone's exhausted, feeling sick, in pain, their body is failing, telling them to keep fighting can feel like pressure, like they're letting people down if they can't.
I can see that. It puts a burden on them.
Right. What they really need, he suggests, isn't pressure, but just a trusted person. Someone to confide in, to talk honestly with, without having to put on a brave face or, perform strength.
That point about language really shows how deep this discomfort goes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Moving from this idea of a heroic struggle to just accepting a natural process, however hard it is.
Yeah, it's about emotional support, not demanding a fight they can't win.
Which kind of leads us back to the bigger question, why? Why is something so universal, so fundamental, still wrapped up in all this silence?
Exactly. Why does this taboo hang around? Farah Damaki, in that e-hospice piece, offers a really interesting historical angle.
Okay.
She points out how death used to be much more of a social event. It happened in the community, often at home, with neighbors, family around. Support systems were built in.
Right, part of the fabric of life.
But now, it's shifted. It's become primarily a medical experience.
And the implication of that shift is huge. Damaki says it means death now often happens in cold spaces surrounded by strangers.
Oof, that's a bleak picture.
It is. It loses that relational side, the spiritual element, maybe. Historically, people saw death. They understood it from a young age as part of community life. Now it's often pushed away, hidden in institutions.
Out of sight, out of mind. And this connects directly to the idea that our healthcare systems themselves can be, maybe without meaning to, sort of anti-death.
How do you mean anti-death?
Well, the whole focus, as Demacay argues, is often on fighting death, seeing it as a failure of medicine.
Ah, right. Because medicine has gotten so good at prolonging life, maybe death itself starts to feel like the system failed, rather than just the end of a natural process.
Precisely. So you get this over-medicalization at the end. The focus becomes extending life, sometimes pushing interventions even when they might impact quality of life or dignity.
It makes death almost invisible within the system itself.
That's a powerful way to put it. Invisible death. And apparently, clinicians often really struggle to talk about prognosis, about dying, with patients and families.
Really? Even doctors and nurses?
Yes. Advanced care planning can feel like this alien concept. And if the talks do happen, it's often way too late, like in the last days or hours, and sometimes without much empathy.
Wow.
Even palliative care, comfort care, which is designed to help people live as well as possible until they die. Even that can be seen as like giving up, a defeat.
That's worrying.
Damaki actually shares a bit about her own experience starting out as a nurse. She talks about learning to almost robotize death.
Robotize it.
Yeah, like getting very little training on the human side of it, which just highlights how the system can frame death as just an outcome, not a process, not this deeply human thing that needs emotional and spiritual care too.
So it's systemic, but it's cultural too, right?
Oh, absolutely. The denial runs deep in society. Think about religious communities even. Places where holy books, the Bible, the Quran, they talk explicitly about death.
Yeah, they embrace it as part of life's cycle versus like, for you are dust, and to dust you shall return, or every soul will taste death.
Exactly. Those ideas are foundational, yet, Damaki points out, you still hear people say, God forbid such an evil, whenever death comes up in conversation.
It's a real paradox, isn't it? The cultural conditioning is so strong, it can almost override those core beliefs. It's like a protective reflex, but maybe not helpful.
And I think it ties into the whole anti-aging thing we see everywhere, too.
How so?
All the cosmetic procedures, the supplements, the media focus on staying young forever.
Yeah.
It all feeds this idea that aging and ultimately death are things to be fought off, denied, cheated.
Right. It constantly reinforces the message. Avoid death, don't understand it.
So then you have families, right? Often they avoid talking about illness, about death with the person who's sick, even when they know the end might be near.
And the sources suggest this comes from a good place, usually. They think they're protecting their loved one from pain, from losing hope.
Trying to shield them.
Yeah. But the unintended consequence can be isolation for the dying person, denying them that chance to talk about fears or wishes or just find some peace with it all.
It's such a difficult balance, isn't it? And maybe underneath all this, there's a deeper, more existential thing going on.
Like what?
Maybe it's just fear of our own mortality. Or maybe fear that if we really thought about death, we'd realize we need to change how we're living now.
Or just seeing death purely as a loss, an ending, full stop, with nothing else to it.
Right, these are big fears and they keep us stuck in avoidance mode. But what if we flipped the script?
Flipped it how?
What if, instead of just seeing death as loss, we saw it as, well, an opportunity?
An opportunity? That sounds counterintuitive.
Maybe, but an opportunity for reflection, for thinking about life,
Yeah.
maybe making changes, and, celebrating the journey someone's had.
Okay, I see where you're going. Reframing it.
Exactly. And this really opened things up. Irvin Yalom, in his book, Staring at the Sun, which Damaka mentions, talks about Nietzsche's idea of the eternal return. Have you heard of that?
Vaguely. Remind me.
It's this thought experiment.
Mhm.
Imagine a demon tells you that this life you're living now, you'll have to live it again and again, innumerable times more. Every single detail, big or small, exactly the same way.
Wow. Okay. That's a heavy thought.
It is. But the point is, if you knew that, wouldn't you want to live in such a way that you'd be happy to repeat it? It pushes you to live without regrets, sure, but maybe more,
Yeah.
to actively shape each moment.
To curate your life almost, so you'd want to relive it.
Yes, exactly. Demakie connects this to preparing for death. It becomes about constantly trying to live authentically, in line with who you really are.
So preparing for death isn't morbid, it's actually about living more fully now.
That's the idea. And in that light, preparing for departure can actually be, as one of Demakie's friends put it, a blessing in disguise.
God bless.
Because it gives you this chance, maybe this push, to finish unfinished business. Say things you need to say. Read those books you meant to read. Visit places. Mend fences.
Okay. So it's not about giving up, it's about engaging fully with the time that's left. Finding meaning, finding peace.
Right. And it's more than just ticking boxes. It's framed as this profound spiritual journey.
Spiritual how?
Something you experience both alone, in your own thoughts, but also, ideally, with support from loved ones, from community. It's a process that deepens as illness progresses. A path to self-discovery, connection.
So, okay. If we accept this, how do we actually do it? What are the practical steps towards being more open?
Well, Abby Vance, inspired by her experience with Aaron, is actually doing something concrete. She's setting up a charity
Oh, wow. For what?
to create a UK-wide network of end-of-life companions and provide better information. A direct response to that lack of preparedness, she felt.
That's amazing, taking that difficult experience and turning it into help for others.
Yeah. And Laura Hugman, the hospice manager, she stresses something simpler, too, just knowing what services are out there.
Right, basic information. Especially now, she says, when getting hold of your GP can sometimes be tricky. Knowing about hospice at home, palliative teams, it's vital.
Absolutely. And Dr. Tabort's advice comes back here, too, just signaling early on.
Signaling what?
Telling patients, even when they're not actively dying yet, that talking about end-of-life wishes and plans would be useful when they're ready.
Ah, planting the seed.
Mm.
Normalizing the conversation before it feels like a crisis.
Exactly. It helps them, helps their families prepare, makes those tough talks maybe a little less daunting when the time comes.
Okay, so let's pull this together. What we've seen in this deep dive is that this huge, almost universal taboo around death. It has real, often painful consequences.
Yeah, people making decisions without enough information, feeling isolated, families struggling.
And this silence isn't accidental. It's rooted in historical shifts, the way our healthcare systems are set up, and these really deep cultural habits of denial. And all of that works against our basic human need for, closure, meaning, connection at the end of life.
But the really big takeaway, maybe, is that breaking the taboo isn't just about sorting out wills or practical stuff. It's much deeper. It's about reclaiming a core part of the human experience.
Seeing death not just as a medical event, but as, well, a societal thing, a relational thing, even a spiritual process, something that deserves thought and open conversation all through life, not just at the very end.
And there seems to be some momentum building, doesn't there? From Abby Vance's personal mission, to Dr. Talbert pushing for clearer clinical communication, to Farah Demakie calling for this whole new cultural outlook.
Yeah, there's a definite push towards normalizing these conversations.
Yes.
Showing that real courage isn't just in the fighting talk, but in acknowledging, preparing, and actually truly living right up to the end.
So what does all this mean for you listening right now? We want to leave you with that powerful thought from Irvin Yalom, the one Demakie quoted. In learning to die well, we learn to live well.
Just sit with that for a moment. In learning to die well, we learn to live well. What does thinking about death, embracing that conversation, mean for how you choose to live your life today, right now?
Yeah. What insights might come up? What changes might you make? What connections might you deepen just by acknowledging this thing we all share?
If you had to relive today or this week, this year, that eternal return idea, would you shape it differently? What would your eternal return look like if you started designing it now?
These aren't easy questions, we know, but maybe don't shy away from them. Lean into these thoughts, maybe even these conversations with yourself or with people you care about.
Embrace the whole spectrum of life, all of it, right to the very end.
You might be profoundly glad you did.